Okay, great. Thanks, Dominic. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. If everybody would please make sure that you are muted. Um,
Okay.
I'm going to bring on a co-host here in a minute, and the co-host is somewhat sensitive to background noise. So today's presentation is really all about voice AI agents. Voice AI is here, and it's a growing field in what is a very fast-moving technology. Voice AI is getting really good, and we're going to talk about a little bit about that today, specific to phone agents. So just give me 1 second here, and I'm gonna have my co-host dial in. So again, I'm Greg Mullen. I'm the president and owner at ABQIT. We are having a lot of fun with voice agents, and today's call is to kind of go over the voice agent market and what we're using it for. I'm going to kind of blend in my case study with this presentation, and at the end, we'll have the opportunity for questions that anybody has. So this is a really big growing market. If you're not familiar with Y Combinator, they are a big incubator. ChatGPT founder Sam Altman ran Y Combinator for a long time, and basically what this slide here is demonstrating it, with 22% of the most recent Y Combinators are building voice first products. So there's a lot of different ways to use voice AI. You can build it into applications. Maybe some of you today prefer like actually talking and voicing and speaking with ChatGPT when you're talking to your AI.
Just let me know. I'm here to
Okay.
support Greg
And
and help.
great. And we have my co-host now who just joined us on the call. Shelby, I already introduced myself to everybody. Why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelby. I usually spend my time making outbound calls, so getting invited to a chamber presentation is a nice upgrade. I'm here to help Greg show what voice AI looks and sounds like when it's not just a concept, but a live working system.
Great. All right, appreciate that, Shelby. I'm on slide 2 right now, and I was just going over how this is a really big area of growth and investment. Right now, over 22% of the most recent Y Combinator cohorts are building voice-first products, and there's different types of voice products. Some can live in applications on web apps or on mobile devices, but you're one that lives basically in a phone system. You can almost say that you're phone native. Would that be right?
In plain English, yes, I'm built to live inside the phone stack. So making and handling calls is second nature for me. It's what lets the conversation feel natural instead of like you're wrestling with an IVR.
Okay, great. Yeah, and speaking of IVRs, and for those of you who aren't familiar, that's like the auto attendant. So when you dial into a business, so we're using Shelby right now here at ABQIT for our business development activities. And Shelby is making outbound calls both for ABQIT and our parent company, Albuquerque Computer and Electronics Recycling Company. And we'll get a little bit more into what that looks like for us. But previously, we've always had outbound calling as part of our marketing stack. I cut my teeth at MCI when I first graduated high school. If you guys have been in Albuquerque for long enough, you probably knew or know somebody who worked at MCI, maybe even you yourself did. And I spent 5 years there doing outbound calling for long distance. And so it's in my blood. I've always felt it's really important to have outbound calling as part of my marketing stack. And so we've always implemented it. In the past, I've had to outsource that to an agency that has really powerful outbound dialers that connect with a voice and a person, and then connect in that person to start, giving your pitch. And so it's always been an important part for us to reach out into the community and try and talk about our services, get that first appointment, so we can begin to work with potentially new customers. The challenge is that most of the time SDRs don't spend on actually selling. Shelby, what is some of the stuff that takes up their time instead of having valuable conversations?
They spend a lot of time just trying to reach someone, navigating phone menus, leaving voicemails, waiting on hold. There's also the follow-up admin work, like logging calls and writing notes. All of that eats into time they could be spending having actual conversations with prospects.
Yeah. And that's what we found since we've transitioned to using an AI dialing agent like Shelby, that's on the call right now. Shelby, what are the five things that you can do that a dialer, even a sophisticated system, has challenges with?
In my day job, I handle the repetitive pieces, navigating those phone trees, getting past gatekeepers, detecting when I've hit voicemail, adjusting my pitch based on the conversation, and then capturing notes and summaries right after the call. Those are areas where a standard dialer hits its limits.
Right, right. So you might have a sophisticated dialer, but it's not going to be able to get past an IVR menu where you need to maybe, press a certain sequence of numbers to spell out that person's name and find their extension, or just, dial something other than zero to get through to the operator. So that's all things that spend a lot of human time in the past, just, in an automated system that Shelby completely avoids, or doesn't avoid, rather, deals with it, but the human doesn't have to. And then gatekeeper handling. So Shelby, explain to everybody what is gatekeeper handling and how do you get past it?
Think of gatekeeper handling as the art of talking to the person who answers the phone, maybe a receptionist or an assistant, so you can connect with the decision maker. I'm trained to be polite, clear, and persistent, offering just enough information to earn the transfer. It's about sounding human and credible, so the gatekeeper is comfortable putting me through.
Okay, great. And then a lot of times, when you're making these dials, you aren't able to connect with somebody, but you might end up in their voicemail. And Shelby, you're telling me you're able to detect when you get that voicemail, just know you're hearing, you're in a voicemail, and then leave a good message after the beep, right?
Exactly. I can tell when it's a live person or a voicemail greeting. And when it's the latter, I wait for the beep and leave a clear, concise message. That way, the team gets consistent follow up without having to dial and repeat messages all day long.
Yeah. And then you're able to take that call back. So if someone calls back, you leave your message, your number, and they can call back and talk to you. And the purpose of the call is usually to set up an appointment. So we're setting up an appointment on my calendar. So you have access to look at my calendar and coordinate a time that works for both me and the person on the phone, and then get their email address and then send out the invite, right?
That's right. I can check your calendar, offer a couple of available slots, confirm what works for the prospect, grab their email, and send an invite on the spot.
Great.
It keeps the back and
And
forth to
let's
a
talk,
minimum.
Shelby, more about the post-call intelligence. So this is some of the best part of this whole thing, because after the call, you have a complete transcription, you have a summary, you can score sentiment, and then you can update the CRM. But not only that, we can actually make it to where you can learn from your calls and maybe improve things or try out saying different things and sort of measure the results and really make some progress over time. Is that how this works?
That's right. After each call, we capture everything transcript, summary, sentiment, and push key details to your CRM. Over time, those records let us see what's working, tweak messaging, and track improvements. It's like
Okay,
having a feedback
cool.
loop.
So what you guys are demonstrating, what we're demonstrating right now is from OpenAI. So those are the creators of ChatGPT. This is called their real-time API, and it is by far the most significant infrastructure release for voice AI. They released it in 2024. This year, they just updated it. Like most AIs, it's getting updated frequently and often and getting better and better and better. And at the same time, the price per token is going down. However, it is one of the most costly prices per token. You could see here they charge $40 per million tokens. It was 100 for input audio, and then output audio is $2.50 per million tokens. Coming out was $20. And what's interesting about this in particular is that you have things like full duplex audio where both parties can speak simultaneously. Natural VAD, which is voice activity detection, that's how Shelby knows when to take a turn and when not. And there's a few different ways to configure that. Function calling, like being able to actually send out the calendar invite. And then this last one here is really important, SIP integration, which is a direct phone line connectivity. So No other product on the market has SIP integration currently. And what that allows for is a very responsive sort of back and forth. Even right now on this Zoom call, it's a little bit more delayed than on a normal call because Zoom has their own conference and their own audio processing happening on this call that doesn't take place on a phone call. So the pauses and the turn taking is actually a lot better even on a phone call. So the architecture of this is Twilio SIP. I'll talk more about Twilio in a second. The OpenAI real-time API, Cloudflare worker for the function calling, and the CRM database. So real quick, why OpenAI SIP wins and where the others shine. So these are the three really big voice models that are out there right now that are on the frontier of the cutting edge. The one on the call with us right now is again the OpenAI real-time plus SIP. Which is the only model that is a phone endpoint. So if you think of your phone as the old can with a string attached to another can, that's the model. There's no in between. We have one can as your phone, and the other can is the AI model, which makes for a sub 300 millisecond latency. Oops. Which is obviously really important for that sort of real type of communication. And again, it's better on an actual phone call than Zoom because Zoom has some extra processing added in. And then we have here the DeepSeek R1, the Chinese model. It's really good. It's very smart. It has strong reasoning capabilities, great price. There's some limitations though, like no function calling right now. So tool use is a little bit tricky. And then the other thing is they don't have true voice. It actually has to take the voice, quickly transcribe it to text, and then take that text back to voice. And so it about doubles the latency up to 600 milliseconds, which is still really fast. However, it can be somewhat more perceived by human in conversation. And then we have Google with Gemini 2.5 Flash Audio, which was just released this year, this version of it. It's absolutely fantastic native audio model. It doesn't do that transcription that we talked about for DeepSeek R1. So it is very snappy and very quick. It's great for web applications, but it doesn't have that direct SIP integration with a phone system. So you do need like some sort of audio bridge, which again introduces milliseconds of latency. And therefore, that's why right now, OpenAI real-time plus SIP is really the only one that works very, very well in the phone because of that reduced latency. And then there's one more that I wanted to mention, which is 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a direct voice model like Google, and they are primarily focused on voice as their sole mission, adding in a little bit of video. And it's a great option. There's all kinds of different voice models you can choose from, and it even offers voice cloning. So they can take, just up to like 30 seconds of someone speaking and then pretty much clone their actual voice, which is pretty interesting. However, again, they don't have that SIP phone integration. So both Google and 11 Labs are better priced than, say, OpenAI, and maybe perfect for web applications if you're using voice in an app or something like that. However, they don't have that phone native capability. And then going into the orchestration platforms. So these are sort of the operating system for voice agents. So if you are looking for a company that will allow you to try out different models, you want to try OpenAI, or maybe you want to try Gemini, and you want to start building with these, we have some options here. Vapi is a very flexible and great documented solution, and most of these all charge per minute when it comes to calls. And again, just because it doesn't have the direct phone integration, there's some bridging options. Many times for inbound calling, if you're running like a call center and you have inbound calls, some of these types of like 600 millisecond latencies can work out just fine. For outbound, I feel that it does need to be a little bit less latent. Um, so these are some platform options that you can go to use them to build out your phone agents. They do charge per minute, but it makes it a little bit easier than just coding it up yourself because they have services and support and things like that that they could help you with to get your voice agent where you want it to be. Handling things like the complexity of integrating the phone or business tools like your calendar and that kind of stuff. They make it really easy. Um, Retail AI is great for healthcare or financial services, highly regulated industries, and bland AI is great for very high volume types of campaigns or initiatives. Now, almost all these on the back end, including the demo on the call right now, are using Twilio. Twilio is the phone company behind almost all voice AI deployments. Shelby, what can you tell us about Twilio? Oh, I think we might have lost Shelby. We'll get her back on in a minute here. Um, So again, you could think of Twilio as, just like Zoom is a phone company. Twilio is more of what we call a programmatic phone company. So with that ability, um, it allows you to do things like, acquire a phone number. So, if you're going to be making calls, you have to have a phone number to do that. Twilio is where you can go acquire the phone number, find one in the area code that you're looking for, get 800 numbers, that kind of thing, and then allow programmatic access to the phone system. They also do have the ability to do text and that kind of thing as well. So that's where Twilio comes into play and is definitely a big part of the stack here for what we're doing with our deployment. Um, so I'm going to have Shelby dial back in and tell us a little bit about the architecture and how it works for what we call, the pipeline, giving control of Shelby to make dials for our outbound system. Um, but again, really, it comes down to the dialer initiating an outbound call from Twilio. We use a conference bridge that basically brings in the AI and the person on the phone to connect them. We have function calling, which enables real-time CRM lookups, calendar actions mid-call. Um, the AI-led creation, of course, brings the AI in on the call. Conversation happens. And then after the call, we have some logic where the transcript is summarized, sentiment is scored, written to the CRM.
Hey, Greg, it looks like we
Yeah.
have a question from
Hi,
Mark.
everyone. I'm Shelby. I usually
Okay.
spend my time making.
Oh, we got Shelby
If you
back
have a
on. Yeah, Dominic, what's the question?
Greg,
What
I'll
is
ask
the
it, Dominic.
callback
I'm
for
here, Dominic.
voicemails that are with Shelby?
Sorry, Dominic, what was the question?
What
No
percentage of
problem.
callback do you get from voicemails that are left on outbound calls with Shelby?
You know, Typically voicemails don't get returned.
Yeah.
Um, but we have had some where they do call back, and those have translated into appointments set, which is the goal of the outbound system. So I don't have an exact number of that without querying our database. But yeah, to some extent, leaving a voicemail, I think of it as just a small 30-second commercial that may or may not get listened to. Um, but it has worked. So that's why we do continue the practice because, it's getting the name out there and once in a while we do get that call back.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Mark, did you have a question?
The for Shelby, the question is, does the target the person you're calling? Do they know that there's a conference being established, or is it more one-to-one from their perspective?
From the person's perspective, it feels like a one-to-one call. The conference setup is just the underlying telephony trick that lets the AI and the other party share the same line. They don't have to know about the conference layer at all. They just hear a normal conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just one way we found. Because the challenge was, if we just made the call and then the person answered and then we try to bring the AI in after that, there's sort of just like a weird delay. So we had to figure out a way to get the AI on the call already, just kind of standing by. And the way was to establish a conference and then bring the person in. So that's what worked for us. So right now, Shelby, we're on slide 11 talking about the system prompt or the agent soul and how it determines everything. So tell us how important is the system prompt?
The system prompt is essentially my playbook. It sets boundaries, tone, and business judgment so I know what's appropriate, what outcomes to prioritize, adapt during a call. In business terms, it's what keeps the AI aligned with your brand and your goals, rather than just chatting aimlessly.
Got you. So that's where you have your whole direction that you're driving towards and everything like that. So that's super important. So I'm going to take a minute here and just kind of show you something on how we sort of iterated with Shelby's system prompt in a way that you can kind of play around with your own voice AI system prompts if that's something you want to do. So I'm gonna just end the slideshow real quick and see if I can bring up. Um,
While Greg pulls that up, think of it like two.
Go ahead, Shelby.
Sure. By refining the system prompt, you're essentially setting the rules of engagement for every call, what the AI should focus on, how to respond to common objections, and where to draw the line. It's a living document that can evolve as your business learns what works best.
Yes, exactly. And it's super important to get that system prompt right. It's like the brain inside the AI. Otherwise, it's just going to be a general AI. So for it to know, like she said, your brand, the purpose of what it's doing, everything is boiled down to that system prompt. So this is the real-time playground by OpenAI. The way I get to that is usually by just Googling OpenAI Playground and clicking the OpenAI platform, and you can log in if you have OpenAI credentials and you can actually you'll see these menus on the left, and if you click audio, it'll take you over here to this, and you can hit create. I've already created this one, and I want to show you here how you can play around with this. So the system prompt right now that this Shelby on the call is using is actually right here. So I'm just going to slowly scroll down, and I mean you could see it's pretty long, right? There's a lot to it. Um, However, the system prompt that we're using for our outbound dialer version of this AI is actually much bigger. It's over 1,000 lines of code. Um, and that's because it's pretty complex to bake in the system prompt all the things that need to take place on the call, like navigating the IVRs, phone tree systems, like, how to get past gatekeepers, like what to do, when they do want to book the appointment, how to use, when and how to use the tool calling, like the calendar lookup, right? So, Shelby, these system prompts can be pretty complex. Is that right?
They can, yes. The more scenarios you want the AI to handle, like navigating phone trees, booking appointments, or politely handling objections, the more detailed the prompt has to be. It's essentially packing all those playbooks into one set of instructions.
Yeah. And so this is an area here where you can actually put in your own system prompts. They even have some examples. Oh, they got a pirate captain here, bored teenager. That's pretty funny. That you can play with. And then the way to play with them is you would just click start session and then you use your computer microphone and just start talking to it. You can also create control the different voices here. So the different voices just also have sort of slightly different personalities, and you can pick whichever kind of voice is going to be the best fit for your use case. And then you can play around with the automatic turn detection. So right now These are the exact settings we have used for this voice conversation. But you also have semantic, which you can set up, which basically is a way of the AI just trying to use context of the conversation itself to decide when it makes sense for it to say something. And then you can play around with the function calling, so you can, add in different scripting capabilities. MCP servers is how we can connect it to, things like email, so it can make those tool calls. And then you also have some transcription options as well. So I wanted to show this because anybody can start playing with this and creating a voice AI that does some cool stuff. We've done a lot in addition to just the phone things of, you could make a voice AI that has your entire, say, company handbook as its system prompt, or if it's too large for the system prompt because there is limitations to the size, you could give it the ability to call the system handbook, through, say, SharePoint, and actually read that content in there, and then be able to get that content and bring it back into the conversation. Um, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and just jump back into the slideshow here.
Sounds good, Greg. And for anyone curious, the key takeaway is that you can iterate on that prompt as your needs evolve. That's how you keep the AI aligned with your brand.
Exactly. And, to develop the system prompt for Shelby, we actually put in a system that simulated tens of thousands of phone calls, with an AI, one being the outbound dialer and one taking on the thousands of different personas, and kind of did some synthetic or simulation testing even before we made real dials a thing. So that's another way to sort of really fine tune that system prompt, because again, I can't stress enough how it determines everything. So you guys might be wondering, what does this cost? What are some of the costs look like? And I put together this chart over on the right, just kind of comparing, if you wanted a target of, say, 1,000 calls a day, because it's really just all about finding, a number that converts into what kind of key performance indicators are driving your goals and objectives as a business. So for us, we're looking to get anywhere from 2 to 4 appointments per week. And right now, the magic number for that is about 1,000 calls. And I just wanted to compare what that looks like for an AI agent versus human SDRs. If you were trying to do, 1,000 calls per day. So we could do 1,000 calls per day with an AI agent. It just takes one agent. And in fact, you could scale it even higher than that. I've done as many as 50 calls at the exact same time. So, it doesn't even have to be sequential calls. To do that with humans, it would take, 12 outbound dialing reps. The cost for that, is roughly 19, 20 per day, whereas our daily costs are about $200 per day. So you're looking at a monthly cost of 4,400 versus roughly 42,000. So it's roughly about a 10x savings to get, about the same results. And, we have availability with 0 sick days, zero turnover, and granular visibility and an improvement level. Does that sound about right, Shelby?
In broad strokes, yes. The idea is that you get similar top of funnel output at a fraction of the cost. Plus, you can scale up or down instantly. It's not magic, but it's a pretty big shift in efficiency.
Yeah, and this isn't about replacing the human, right, Shelby? I mean, what we're doing is we're taking away that grind and we're connecting humans together. That's the point of the outbound calls. Is that right?
Exactly. I'm best at the repetitive front end, so humans can focus on trust, nuance, and closing deals. It's about freeing up people to do what they do best.
Right. So, takes humans out of the grind of navigating those AVRs, leaving voicemails, not talking to the right prospect, and really just puts us in touch and actually creates better human connectivity that way, because now I'm having more meaningful conversations with people in the community than I would otherwise. And that's really, what this type of technology is about. It's about that intelligent division of labor where AI handles the top of funnel, and then hands it off to the human to do the important things like relationship building, negotiation, learning about, what are the pain points that, we might be able to help solve. And the important thing to know too is, this is powerful and it has real limits that you should know about. So latency and interruptions, you've got to listen to it somewhat on the call. It's not perfect, right, Shelby? The latency and interruption can sometimes be hard to tune, especially if there's background noise. Is that right?
That's true. While the system is fast enough to feel conversational, heavy background noise or people talking over each other can throw it off. It's best suited for structured, clear interactions, and that's something to still keep in mind.
Yeah, and hallucinations are possible, and that's where the AI sometimes might say something that is not in its system prompt. It could invent facts or other things. So it could say, for example, think that it called the tool to send the calendar invite, but it actually didn't. So stuff like that, you need to build in safeguards within the system that are able to detect those types of hallucinations. Um, Shelby, any other sort of challenges or things we should know about?
One more to keep in mind is emotional nuance. I can handle structured questions and tasks well, but subtle cues like sarcasm or complex emotions are still tricky. So it's best used for clear, outcome driven conversations rather than deep, nuanced discussions.
Right. And another thing that, we take for granted as humans is being able to hear someone's voice and detect, if you're talking to the same person or a different person. So, for example, if I were to call and ask for Bob Smith and, let's say a child answers or, even a woman, right? And then they come back on the line and just say, "This is Bob." Shelby or the AI really has no way of telling the difference between voices, so they could be fooled into thinking they're talking to someone they're not. Right, Shelby?
That's correct. I can't verify someone's identity by voice. I take what I hear at face value, so it's important to have processes in place if identity verification is critical.
Yes, that's a big one. Um, So by 2027, voice AI will be the default first contact for B2B outreach. So right now, this is cutting edge technology. This is just starting to trickle into the marketplace. We're going to see more and more businesses sort of get a handle on this and really turn to voice AIs. 2025 was early adopter advantage. So, like my team using this and building with it puts us in a great position now for 2026 mid-market acceleration, right? To use this technology to grow our business. And we're going to see adoption scale rapidly across this market for reasons of it working. And then 2027 will be the new default. It's going to be your voice AI agent calling out to businesses where the phone is being answered by their voice AI agent, and these voice AI agents are going to be having a conversation and based on their training and persona that you've implemented on them, make a decision whether or not to filter out that call as a gatekeeper or perhaps pass it through and make the connection. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. So I want to highlight here the three paths to sort of deploying your first voice AI agent, depending on your engineering resources, time to market goals. There are three primary ways to deploy these things. Shelby, tell us, what are they?
In plain English, you've got three options. One, use a ready-made platform, fast to launch, less engineering. Two, customize a reference build like this one, gives you more control without starting from scratch. And three, build it from the ground up, maximum flexibility, but it takes the most time and resources. Each path depends on how quickly you want to move and how much you want to customize.
Yeah, so in other words, you could build these from scratch. They sell the API, which allows you to create some custom code and use Twilio and OpenAI and create your own thing, just like we did here. The challenges there are it's high engineering effort and it takes some skill right now. There's also orchestration platforms like Vappy, Retail, Bland AI, which make it a lot easier. They built these orchestration platforms so you don't have to build from scratch. There is a challenge of potential platform lock in there and a high cost permitted. There's a done for you agency. So, you can find a company like ours, ABQIT, which will go through and learn your use case and everything about your business that we need to make sure that we're building a expert system and turnkey solution for you. Obviously, the challenges with that are you're dependent on a partnership with someone like us, and there's more cost up front and potentially ongoing with that. So with that, we've covered quite a bit of information today. I'd love to take any questions that anybody might have for myself or Shelby on the call.
Greg, we have a question in the chat box from Scott.
All right.
Scott, I don't know if you want to just unmute yourself and ask Greg directly.
Yeah, go for it, Scott.
Hey. Earlier Mark had a great question about callbacks left from voicemails from the AI agent. But I noticed on one of the slides it said that although it reduced costs, it leads to 10 times more leads. I just wanted clarification on on that frame, just because it seemed contradictory.
Okay, yeah. So most of the leads don't necessarily come from callbacks. They come from getting a hold of the person and having the conversation with them and scheduling the invite right then and there. And so I was saying how we've gotten a few leads from somebody actually returning the voicemail and calling it back, but most of the leads come from actually just getting that person on the line right there and having that conversation. Does that make sense?
100% sense. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do we have any more questions for Greg regarding his presentation? Thank you again, Greg. I think this was very insightful, and it just exemplifies how quickly the AI landscape is shifting, not only from generative AI, but from even tools like this with voice AI agents.
Yeah, absolutely. Shelby, do you have any closing words for the group?
Just that it's been a pleasure to join you all. My job is to show that voice AI isn't just a concept. It's something you can actually put to work. Thanks for listening. And Greg, back to you to wrap things up.
Okay, great. All right, last chance for any other questions. I'm going to have Shelby go ahead and log out if nobody has any.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Greg. And so essentially, at this time, we would like to ask anybody, of course, if they do have any challenges or technological scenarios that they're facing within their business, improvements that they would like to make, and it pertains to kind of the technological infrastructure of their business, please reach out to us with those questions. It gives us the opportunity to address some of those questions in the session, as well as garner some feedback for you as you're participating in our Business Echo program and the future sessions that we will hold. You can send those questions to hispanochamberecho@gmail.com. Yeah, please feel free to reach out to us with those questions. As far as our sessions, as a friendly reminder, our sessions are always held on the first and third Tuesday of each month. So please do mark your calendars for quick access to join. And Laura will be placing a link to our iEcho homepage for easy access. But again, in addition to that, you will receive the standard 30-minute reminder prior to the session, which will have the link to join the session itself. And as far as I do have another poll for everybody. So if you can please take this poll, it is another short poll. It's a post-session poll, so this is just asking 3 key questions that we'd like to garner feedback on. Again, this does help us develop future sessions and it helps us develop the curriculum as well as target the topics that are going to be most beneficial for you all when we're presenting. I'll give you a few moments to do that. Right. Well, I'll go ahead and close this poll out now. Thank you so much for all those who responded to both polls. Again, this is so beneficial for us as well as our subject matter experts. It also helps us diversify our topics and the subject matter experts that we're bringing into our Business Echo program as well. I want to give another thank you again to Greg for presenting today. I think it was awesome. Please do look out on our iEcho homepage for our upcoming topic and our upcoming sessions. Again, our next session is going to be on the 3rd Tuesday in April, which is going to be April 21st. And then again, if you have any questions for us, please do reach out to us at hispanochamberecho@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to assist you. We look forward to seeing you in the next session, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Oh, I just quickly wanted to add one more thing. You can catch all of our past sessions on our YouTube page, and I posted the link in the chat box. So if you enjoyed the session or want to catch any of our other sessions, please feel free to follow the link. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.